Okay, hi guys, I'm back with another video. Today I am diving into another topic that any collector, whether you are fascinated by the kris or any other intriguing collectible, you will find what I will be sharing today invaluable. Today I will be sharing with you my best practices on how to catalog your collections effectively. Now, you might already be asking as to why this is important. Well, the short answer to this is relatively straightforward. Not only will these practices preserve the monetary and sentimental value of the items you collect over the years, but you will also be helping your successors in the future to better manage your legacy. Come on now, let's be honest here. Likelihood whomever inherits your collection, unless they are passionate collectors themselves, will be tempted to sell off your collections for a hefty profit at their earliest convenience. Now, you might then think about setting up a foundation with a solid plan to not only maintain and preserve your collection, but also to generate sustainable revenue for your successors. However, for most of you, that's not quite within reach. So what's the next step? That's right, starting with a meticulous cataloging process. Join me today as we explore my recommendations and best practices right after these messages. Hey, if we are meeting for the first time, my name is Keris Hoard, better known as Pak Jofe, the kris collector from Singapore, your personal guide into the fascinating world of the kris and its collecting culture. If you are a fan of history, art, and mythology embodied into these traditional daggers that we natives of the Malay world refer to as the kris, be sure to subscribe to this channel and join our community right here on the Kris Collector YouTube channel. Collecting is very much a personal journey. Be it you are into coins and currencies, stamps, comic books, firearms, bladed weapons, gemstones, action figures, and whatever else that fascinates you. At the end of the day, it is a reflection of you as a person. Whether you realize it or not, whatever you collect reflects your personality. You are ultimately what you collect. Now, for someone who knows you personally, when they understand the manner and style of your collecting habits, likely they will attest to this statement. Now, back in the day when I was writing my semester assignment, I wrote extensively on this study, and the results of my findings proves this point. But that will be a story for another video. For today, I would like to address a glaring elephant in the room. Dare I say it, a plague within the collecting community. There is a difference between collecting and hoarding. Collecting is a deliberate and calculated act that stems from careful study, thought, assessment, and appreciation, which ultimately results in a unique and exclusively curated collection which will be helpful for future study and research. Hoarding, on the other hand, is an unhealthy state of mind resulting from an uncontrolled impulse to gather and keep items based on the position of FOMO, fear of missing out. To make matters worse, items are often not only disorganized in a chaotic mess, but most detrimental of all, lacking any usable or useful data. Just because something looks old does not necessarily mean that it is valuable. Value is determined by many factors aside from age. How then do we preserve this value? The answer is through cataloging. To consider oneself a collector, one must be bound by a set of rules, and the number one cardinal rule of collecting is to ensure that any item that has been added into your collection is properly documented. Allow me to share with you a story about a fellow collector whom I know of personally. Now, in respect of his privacy, I will refrain from mentioning his name. He has passed away for some time now, but it was an honor for me to have known him in the early stages of my kris collecting journey. He was one of the many inspirations for the kris collector today. Now, to cut a long story short, he was an experienced and knowledgeable collector with a good eye at spotting rare specimen examples, with a collection size numbering by the hundreds. Now, unfortunately, his passion and zeal was not inherited by his successors. Upon his passing, they were eager to dispose of his collection, citing unwarranted fears from the supernatural. Now, I was very vocal in my objection to this position then, as throughout my years of learning from him, he was not into the esoteric aspects of collecting. When word got around of his passing and that his successors were looking to sell off his collection, lo and behold, all the opportunists came out of the woodwork, so to speak. Obviously, his successors were excited and expecting a windfall based on the general assumption that their father's collection were indeed rare and priceless. However, unfortunately, there were no documentations to substantiate these claims. And so, these opportunistic collectors and dealers pulled a fast one and lowballed them with the most ridiculous offers which even the most seasoned of collectors would cringe at. Shockingly, for reasons unknown, his successors accepted those offers, and that was the end of it for them. A great collection lost to whom I refer to as a bunch of thieves and beggars unworthy of having these rare collections. Not surprisingly, months later, these items were out in the open market, being sold at prices multiple folds to its acquired price. Now, had there been a proper documentation system in place, this situation could have been easily avoided, and his successors could have profited from their father's lifetime of collecting. This is also one of the many reasons why I have the least amount of respect for those dealers and buyers, most of whom are still alive today and still profiting from the ignorant. Karma will get to them eventually. This I am very certain of. Preying on the innocent and ignorant, they will get their comeuppance one day. Cataloging is a fundamental, multi-step tool for managing a collection. Having a detailed and up-to-date catalog greatly assists in the administration of these activities. It enhances the administration and organization of your collection. Now, feel free to pause this video at any time to take a moment to read the attached slide. Another advantage of cataloging and documenting your collection: by creating an informative digital record of your collection and its context, you can ensure the preservation of that item as a digital entity long after its physical form deteriorates. You can also use this digitized record as a research and exhibition tool, putting the digital image and documentation to work. This allows the original item to rest in its storage or exhibited location, reducing the need for handling and therefore reducing its exposure to risks. Digitization helps to mitigate the physical barriers that exist between private collectors and public audiences. Researchers need not travel distances to visit private collectors to view and study their private collections. An added benefit of creating a digitized catalog allows you the option of sharing your catalog online, should you decide to allow public access to your private collections. But amongst all these benefits, ultimately, in the areas of preserving and protecting its value is the end goal here. With a detailed documented footprint of your respective collections, when the time comes to exchange hands to another custodian, the documentary evidence from your time bears proof of not only ownership, but a known travel path as well, which then protects you or your successors from lowballers who seek to cheat you out of the actual value of your items. Be smart about it. Never be too eager to believe claims which are not substantiated with evidence. Trust the documentations recorded by the original custodian. A truly responsible collector would not commit his knowledge to memory. He will notarize them in a formal document. Also, it makes it easier to ensure your collections with a proper documentation catalog on hand, ensuring fair compensation in the event of theft, damage, or loss. Without a proper documentation, it paves the way for misinformation long after you are gone. Many a times I have had successors whom inherited a collection of krises from a family member, becomes disillusioned with deluded beliefs brought on through dreams and advice from so-called knowledgeable friends, all of which are rubbish, of course, to the learned. There are numerous resources on cataloging a collection in accordance to managing a small museum. I will personally recommend one comprehensive manual which I have been using since 2011. Now, to our good fortune, this manual has been recently updated in 2021. The title of this manual is the Small Museums Cataloging Manual, Edition 5, published by the Amaga Victoria Melbourne Museum. I based my cataloging standards way back in 2011 from the 4th edition of this manual, which was published sometime in 2009. The art of cataloging is an ever-evolving process, and it is always recommended to stay up to date on the latest accepted standards. This manual is available for download for free on their website. I will be including a link in the show notes description below. Do check it out and give this manual a read. This manual provides a comprehensive brief and guidance on the accepted methods of collecting cataloging information and the documentation process. It gives you an idea of what information is vital to record and document down. There are sample templates for you to print out, and you can use them for your own collection documentation. So, as you can see, being a collector is not just limited to collecting items that tickles your fancy. It involves studying the object you collect. And most important of all, not only do you become a student of the object, you become an observer as well. Like it or not, ultimately, you do need to formally document your collection to preserve and enhance its future value. Have it ever occurred to you how items sold privately in auction houses can fetch exorbitant bidding prices as compared to items sold at a dealer? Items are categorically the same, but the difference is in the documentation, context, history, and evidence. That is how a seemingly worthless object can fetch high sums of money from stories that has been documented and certified true by way of a reliable catalog. Hey, if you have learned something new from today's video, do have a care and remember to subscribe, like and share if you would. Your support will help this video reach out to other kris enthusiasts out there and will be helping them to discover and explore the many interesting facets of kris collecting in future videos. Do leave your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. Together, let's weave the future of kris collecting. When I first started out, I relied heavily on hard copy forms and big bulky journals to record the entirety of my collection. Over time, I realized the impracticality of this method of documenting my collections. First problem is in the retrieval of information from these manual records. Quite the headache to sieve through hundreds of records by hand. Next, fading ink or pencil entries. Now, humidity and moisture tend to ruin normal paper that the cataloging template is printed on. When your entry is painstakingly written by hand, your pride and joy can become your pain and suffering when you realize that after some time, the ink or pencil lead fades away. Another factor is these manual records requires space, like filing cabinets. While it does feel good to have a physical hard copy file in hand, over time it becomes somewhat impractical to maintain such a system. So what I did was upgrading from a hard copy system to a soft copy based system. There are many content management systems out there which you can purchase or subscribe to. But if you are on a budget, you can use good old Excel to create your own database. If you are proficient in automation within Excel, then you can create a systematic form like database within Excel, like how I did one right here. Now, I am personally proficient in Excel, so to convert, say, a template from the small museum's cataloging manual like this one to that of a database-like feel in Excel is a task that I can complete within an hour. The real deal is in your commitment to document every single item that you collect. That is a task that even the most seasoned of collectors tend to procrastinate with. Now, my advice is to bite the bullet and immediately get on with adding that record into your collection catalog. Your memory may not be as reliable a reference with age, so best to jot down the details before the Mandela effect kicks in. If you missed my previous video on the significance of a kris tinde in a collection, do watch that video right here. Until my next video, stay curious, start exploring, and keep the legacy of the kris alive.